The caller is Bob from Alameda, California. Ghost plane. I live on an island. It's called Alameda, and the significance of this will come up later. I'm a commercial pilot, and in January of 1998, I was working on building cross-country hours. I fly small airplanes. I'm still building up my hours to get my certified flight instructor rating. I flew up to Ukiah to visit with my friends, and it was getting late, so I started to fly back about 11:30 at night. As I left the airport area, I was about 3,000 feet, and all of a sudden it got really cold in the cockpit of my little 172 Cessna, so I reached up and closed the vents and put the heater on. It just stayed really cold, but I didn't think much of it. I listened to a station called 960. It's an old 40s station. And all of a sudden, over my headset, I hear, "Check your 6, boy." And I was all by myself in the cockpit. I didn't even have the communications radio on, so I turned around and looked behind me. "Check your 6" is look at your 6 o'clock position. I turned around and all of a sudden, there's just this kind of glowing green light, and it's getting closer and closer, and I was like, oh my God. It just sounded like some old 40s voice, you know. "Check your 6, boy," is what he said. And I turned around, and this light was getting closer, and so I go to turn and push forward, and the yoke wasn't moving. And these little planes aren't equipped with autopilot, and this thing was not pitching down and not turning or anything. I couldn't change anything. I couldn't move after that. All of a sudden, the lights dimmed in the cockpit, and I'm getting really scared. Then I get fixated on this thing coming up behind me, and as it gets closer, it had probably another 60 or 70 knots on me, and it was creeping up, and it went around on my right side and came up to my 3 o'clock position. A huge flying boat with one of the old Pan Am type clippers pulled up alongside me. It really scared the heck out of me. I don't tell people about this because they'll think I'm crazy. So this thing pulls up beside me and it's starting to creep in, and I'm really frantically trying to get the stick to move. I look over and all of a sudden, I just see this face in the cockpit window. And this thing is huge, you know. 4 big radial engines. And the guy kind of gives me a wave, and then he turns off and pulls away. Then all of a sudden, it just kind of vanished. Then I could start hearing things again, and I could hear the radio again. So I made it back to Oakland Airport, where I'm based out of, and I landed there. My mom had bought me this book a couple of weeks earlier called Pacific Pioneers, Pan American Story. I was looking through it, and there was one called an M130 Philippine Clipper. It's a Martin flying boat, and it had crashed on January 21st, 1943. It crashed up in the Ukiah area. And I was like, wow, that's really amazing. Maybe that was the same one that I saw. I rode my bike up to the old Naval Air Station in Alameda, and it turned out that Alameda was the base for the Pan American Company for their Pacific flights. I couldn't believe it, but it happened. I asked the ATC on my way in, "Did you see any planes around me on your radar?" And they said no. I didn't really want to press anything.